The sharp rap on my front door came at exactly 7:15 a.m. Not a polite knock, but the kind that demanded attention. I froze. My coffee maker was gurgling, the rich aroma of dark roast filling the kitchen. Sunlight had just begun sneaking through the oaks outside, slicing long stripes across the counter. 3 more knocks came, faster this time. Whoever it was, they weren't leaving. I set down my mug and opened the door. There she stood. Patricia Harrington, or, as the entire neighborhood still called her, Karen. Her once pristine burgundy blazer was gone, replaced by a plain beige cardigan. The blonde bob that had once been razor-sharp now looked dull, streaked with gray. She looked smaller, older, but those cold, piercing, impossibly proud hadn't changed. "Judge Mitchell," she said. Her voice clipped and taut, like every word cost her. "May I come in?" "No," I replied evenly. Her lips twitched, just as I expected. She clasped her hands, trying to look composed. "I understand your hesitation," she continued, "but I wanted to let you know I'm back. I've moved in again. The board voted to reinstate me as a consultant." I blinked. "A consultant?" She nodded stiffly. "Not president, and yet." That yet hit me instantly. Same tone she'd used the first time she marched into my kitchen, clipboard in hand, rattling off made-up violations. "I'm working to rebuild trust," she said. "The community needs order again. Things have gotten lax." I almost laughed. Riverside Meadows had never been calmer than during her absence. Neighbors waved to each other now. Barbecues replaced complaint letters. Lawns weren't perfect, but the tension had vanished. "Patricia," I said quietly, "I think the community is doing just fine without you." She tilted her head, that condescending smirk flickering across her face. "That's your opinion," she said. "But homeowners have been complaining. Vehicles parked overnight. Decorative flags not regulation size. The board needs guidance. Or control," I said. Her smile faltered. "I just wanted to be civil," she said finally. "You'll be hearing from the HOA soon. We're reviewing everyone's compliance, including yours." She turned and strode down the drive, the morning breeze ruffling her beige cardigan. A silver sedan waited at the curb, not her old luxury SUV. Someone else drove. As the car pulled away, that knot returned to my stomach, the one I'd spent 2 years untying. Karen was back, and she wasn't done. 3 days later, the first notice appeared. Crisp letterhead, HOA logo slipped under my doormat. Classic Karen. Apparently, my shutter's paint was fading unevenly, creating a visual imbalance detrimental to neighborhood cohesion. I stepped outside, stared at my perfectly normal navy shutters, and laughed. That night, I stopped by my next-door neighbor Stan's house. He was watering his lawn, baseball cap on, grin in place. "You got one too?" I asked, holding up the letter. "Section 5-1, right?" Stan chuckled. "She nailed half the street with those. Said my mailbox post was too casual." "What does that even mean?" "She's back on her crusade," I said. "Wasn't she kicked out permanently?" Stan asked. "She was," I said. "But now she calls herself a consultant. Found a loophole, I guess." Stan shook his head. "Man, she's like a virus. You think she's gone. Then boom, new strain." I smiled, but my mind was racing. A consultant couldn't enforce fines or inspections. But Karen? She never stayed powerless for long. That night, I dug through all 87 pages of the HOA bylaws. I'd memorized most during her last reign, but I needed to know exactly what she could and couldn't do now. On paper, she had new authority. On paper, she'd never been allowed to break into homes either. A week later, my motion sensor pinged while I was in my study. 2:15 a.m. The camera feed showed a silhouette pacing my front yard, flashlight sweeping over hedges, mailbox, windows. Zooming in, my heart sank. Karen. Gloves on, clipboard in hand, 18 months in prison, probation, court-ordered therapy. And here she was, creeping around my house at 2 a.m., like nothing had changed. I grabbed my phone, called the non-emergency line, and reported suspicious activity. The officer arrived in minutes. By the time he got there, she was gone. I showed him the footage. "That's Patricia Harrington, right?" "HOA ex-president?" I nodded. "She's on probation. We'll file a report." "Probation officer might want to know," he said. After he left, I watched the footage again. Karen had stopped twice, once by my mailbox, once by the flower bed. She bent down both times, doing something I couldn't see. The next morning, 2 laminated inspection tags were planted in my yard like weeds. She'd literally created violations herself. 2 days later, I was summoned to a special HOA review meeting at the community clubhouse, 6 p.m. sharp. Half the neighborhood was already there, whispering, uneasy. At the front sat the bored 5 unhappy faces. And beside them, Karen, deep green blazer this time, hairstyled perfectly, authority radiating like static. "Judge Mitchell," she said as I entered. "Thank you for coming." I wasn't aware attendance was optional, I muttered. The board chair, Garrett Thompson, cleared his throat. "We've received multiple reports regarding potential violations on your property. Miss Harrington brought them to our attention as part of her consulting review." "Consulting review?" I leaned forward. "Is that what we're calling breaking probation now?" Murmurs rippled through the room. Karen's smile didn't falter. "These are legitimate concerns. Community standards must be maintained even by you, Judge." "Of course," I said. "So what are the charges this time? My grass too green? My mailbox too confident?" Garrett shifted. "It's about your security cameras. Some residents feel they create a sense of surveillance, violating privacy." I laughed. "You mean the same cameras that caught Miss Harrington breaking into homes 2 years ago?" A woman in the back snorted. Someone muttered, "She's got nerve." Karen stood. "We've learned from that unfortunate incident. Community trust requires boundaries. You cannot record public spaces without consent." I stared at her. "Funny. I thought you didn't believe in consent." The room went dead silent. Garrett cleared his throat. "Let's keep this civil." Karen sat, lips tight. "We'll review further. In the meantime, I recommend disabling front-facing cameras." "Not happening," I said. She glared. For a brief second, the old Patricia appeared, the one who thought she was untouchable. "Fine," she said finally. "But when residents complain, don't say I didn't warn you." That night, another envelope waited for me. I made a decision. If Patricia wanted round 2, I was ready. But this time, I wouldn't just defend myself. I would expose her. I called contacts at the local newspaper and the district attorney's office. Something told me her consultant status wasn't exactly official. The next morning, my phone rang before sunrise. "Judge Mitchell, this is Detective Alvarez from the county sheriff's office. We got your message about Patricia Harrington." "Yes," I said. "She's trespassing again." "I have footage and documents." Alvarez exhaled slowly. Not surprising. The sheriff's office had received other minor reports. Mailboxes shifted, garden flags removed, small disruptions. No one had caught her directly. Until my evidence. "Do you know how she got reinstated as an HOA consultant?" I asked Detective Alvarez. "That's what we're checking," he said. "She filed some sort of legal petition to assist under the board's discretion. Not illegal, but definitely unusual." "Unusual?" I repeated. "One word for it," he chuckled before hanging up. I looked out my front window. Across the street, a familiar beige cardigan moved between houses, clipboard in hand. She was inspecting again. No permission, no shame. By noon, half the neighborhood had received new violation notices. Stan knocked on my door, letter in hand. She fined me for a basketball hoop. My grandkids visited twice a month. The Andersons got a notice, too. Their garden gnome didn't comply with her community aesthetic. Deja vu. Only this time people weren't afraid. News of her probation, prison time, and obsession had spread. The community that once tiptoed around her watched with weary disbelief. At 4 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text in the HOA group chat, created after her first downfall. "Stan, she's outside again recording yards." "Should we call the cops?" "Already did." "Patrol's on the way." "Keep cameras rolling," I replied. Within minutes, I had 3 clips from different homes showing Karen pacing the sidewalks, tape measure in hand like some deranged architect of conformity. Then came the final straw. 2 days later, I woke to a bright orange sticker on my door, suspension. I peeled it off. Fine print. Repeated violations of cooperative guidelines, membership privileges suspended, presence at HOA functions discouraged. I laughed, until I realized she'd plastered identical notices on at least 10 other doors. Martial law, Karen style. That afternoon, I called Garrett Thompson, HOA board chair. "Judge, we didn't approve those notices," he said, exhausted. She printed them and sent the newsletter team to distribute. Revoke them, I said. We're trying. She still has consultant access in our records and login to the community database. Attorney's working on it. Garrett, act fast, I warned. She's on probation. This behavior could send her back to prison. We'll schedule an emergency meeting tomorrow, he sighed. But Karen wasn't waiting. At exactly 11:43 p.m., my doorbell camera pinged. Same beige cardigan, same clipboard, but this time she wasn't alone. 2 other board members followed, young couple, nervous, clearly pressured. Karen leaned close to the camera. Judge Mitchell, this is an official HOA inspection. You've been uncooperative with prior notices. We're documenting non-compliance for record. She gestured to the others. Take photos. Evidence for removal proceedings. One board member whispered, Patricia, maybe we shouldn't— Quiet, she snapped. Do you want the neighborhood to fall apart again? I watched from my upstairs window, recording a second angle. She stepped onto my porch, peering through my windows. Enough. I called Detective Alvarez directly. She's at my house right now, I said, with others trespassing. Stay inside, he replied. We're on our way. Patrol cars arrived, lights flashing. Karen froze, too focused, dictating an imaginary report. Patricia Harrington, step away from the property, an officer called. I'm with the HOA. This is official, she shouted. Not at midnight, the officer said flatly. Hands visible. The 2 board members backed away, stammering apologies. Karen didn't move. This is harassment. I have authority. Detective Alvarez stepped out of the cruiser, folder open. Patricia, we've been in touch with your probation officer. You're not to engage in enforcement without board supervision. Correct? Her jaw clenched. They're lying! Manipulating you? Ma'am, Alvarez interrupted calmly. We have video from 3 homes and multiple witnesses. You're violating probation. Her clipboard clattered to the pavement. No, you don't understand. Someone has to protect the community. Alvarez nodded slowly. And someone has to protect the residents from you. She was arrested on the spot. The next morning, news spread like wildfire. Half the neighborhood gathered as the van from local reporters arrived. Former HOA president arrested again for harassment and trespassing. Stan handed me coffee. You really can't make this stuff up, he said. Think she'll get out again? Not this time, I said quietly. Probation violations don't go lightly. Garrett arrived, paperwork in hand. Judge, we're holding an emergency session tonight. She's officially banned from any HOA role permanently. Database access revoked. Good, I said. Long overdue. That evening, the clubhouse was packed. Garrett opened the meeting solemnly. Neighbors, Miss Harrington was arrested last night for probation violations and trespassing. We'll work with law enforcement to prevent this from happening again. Applause erupted. Some cheered. He turned to me. Judge Mitchell, would you like to say a few words? I stood slowly. Patricia Harrington spent years trying to control every inch of this community. She used rules as weapons, not tools. But Riverside Meadows was never broken. It just needed space to breathe. She thought order meant perfection, but order without compassion is fear. Let's not repeat that mistake. The room fell quiet, then genuine applause followed. A week later, I received a folded note slid under my door. Angular handwriting, precise. You think you've won. You humiliated me. I only wanted what was best for this community. One day you'll see I was right. No signature needed. I filed it under Harrington Ongoing and locked it away. 2 months passed. The neighborhood finally returned to normal. Kids played basketball, flags waved, laughter returned. Yet, occasionally, I glanced at the corner of the street, half expecting that beige cardigan. Her shadow lingered like an echo. Then one Sunday, a new email notification popped up. Blank, except one line, see you in court. I stared, then smiled faintly. Round 3, I murmured. Coffee in hand, I whispered, let's make it the last one. If you want to see how Karen's final revenge plan completely backfires, watch the next video and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Neighbor Wars HQ for the full story.